Tensions are high across Kenya ahead of a presidential rerun vote on October the 26th. Opposition leader and presidential candidate Raila Odinga remains adamant there will be no rerun election unless the minimum demands made by his coalition are met. He also wants Parliament to abandon efforts to change the election rules. The ruling Jubilee coalition says it's ready to go to the polls and supports changes to election laws. Opposition supporters have been staging protests in the capital, Nairobi, and other cities, calling for the sacking of officials they blame for August's botched presidential election. Supporters from both sides have traded insults and accusations, raising fears tensions could boil over into ethnic violence. Now, what will be the implication of a boycott of Kenya's rerun election? For more insight, Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga joins me live via Skype from the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Good evening, Honorable Raila Odinga.
Good evening.
Yes. Now, first, let's just explore this. What would be your options if, in fact, the IBC does not meet your demands?
Well, we say that if the IBC refuses to meet these demands, then there will be really no point for having elections, because it will basically be doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results.
Now, what will be the implication of you boycotting the election? I mean, does the law allow them to continue with the arrangements of holding an election even if you boycott?
I mean, the law says that there must be two candidates running. That was the ruling made by the Supreme Court in 2013. So what we say is that there will be no elections if the IBC refuses to address the illegalities and irregularities which were highlighted by the Supreme Court in their ruling.
Now, Honorable Odinga, you've been talking to the IBC officials in the last few days. Have they told you why they are not able to meet those demands?
Well, they are talking basically about time. We're saying that time can never be a constraint, like the issue of printing of ballot papers. There are so many companies that are capable of printing ballot papers. They seem to be tied to just one company in Dubai, which printed fake ballot papers. And we say that we wanted that company known as Makori to be removed, changed. The other one is a company called Sapromorpho of France, which is the ICT company, which was contracted to provide the ICT network in the country. And that also brought a lot of challenges, not being capable of transmitting results to the polling stations for tallying. And when they were asked to open their servers for verification by the court, they contemptuously refused to do so. We think that that company is in collusion with our competitors to basically help in the rigging of the elections.
Now, Mr. Odinga, in terms of the calls you've made to people to protest regularly, are you concerned that actually this might be used against you, where you're cast as a person who's willing to plunge the country into chaos if you don't get what you want?
You see, Makori, our constitution guarantees peaceful demonstrations, picketing, striking. Is all actually guaranteed by our constitution. All that we've said is that we want our people to protest peacefully, carrying twigs and white handkerchiefs as a sign of peace. So we are not in any way trying to drive this country into chaos or into violence. We are actually acting very legally, very professionally, and peacefully. It is the government, on the other hand, which is sending its police officers, general police forces, to throw tear gas and shoot live bullets at innocent people who are just protesting. So it is not us who are going to lead this country into chaos. It is the government through the blatant use of the security forces that is going to do so.
Honorable Odinga, yourself and those in the opposing camp, those in the ruling coalition, have actually worked together many times. You have all belonged to one party at one time or another. Have you reached out to each other, tried to talk so that you can bring the country together instead of causing it's a situation that makes people get concerned?
We have basically offered an olive branch. We told our colleagues that they need to see sense and to dialogue so that a level playing field could be established. They are very adamant because, you see, they are the beneficiaries of the rigging. So what we want to be rectified is what helped them to rig themselves into victory. And we believe ourselves that we are the ones who won and our victory was stolen. Therefore, we are the injured party. Yet we are ready to sit down and dialogue and find a way forward. We think that this country is bigger. This country can live beyond this crisis, and that we don't necessarily have to cause such much pain to our people. So we can never be accused of being the people who are driving this country into crisis.
Very quickly, your opponents also said that perhaps you're just scared of losing the election. That's why you're pushing for these changes.
We know that we won the elections last time. Our opponents know that they cannot win free and fair elections. And that's why, in the middle of the game, they are trying to change the rules. They have now come up with new election rules after the High Court ruling. The Supreme Court ordered the IEBC, the Electoral Commission, to go and rectify those mistakes that were found there. Now, they're told that they should go and do an election in accordance with the Constitution and the laws of the country. What does the Jubilee, our competitor, do? They now, instead of complying with the law, they are changing the law so that it can now suit them. So it is them who are afraid of losing elections, not us.
Wow.
We are confident that we will win the elections if they're fairly held.
All right. We'll reach out to them and see what they have to say. Mr. Raila Odinga, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Now, that is Raila Odinga, who is Kenya's presidential candidate. We thank you very much for joining us live via Skype from Nairobi.